Welcome to the show, Kelly. It's such a pleasure to finally speak and to connect.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to meet you finally.
It's, I was telling you before we hit record, and it's always like um those those moments where there's such a depth before you hit record, like that connection that when you do hit record, we go into like sometimes
Like
like
frozen.
robot mode. Yes. But I was telling and I was telling you how much I just admire you as a mom, as a beautiful soul. I admire your essence. I admire your parenting because there's such great reverence and respect, and you were born with such a gift, and you bore a child. Well, I can't say your child chose you, your soul, that soul chose you to bring into this world, and you do it with such grace, such beauty, and such elegance, I want to say, because you just are such a beautiful family. You really, really are.
Thank you. That is the best compliment anyone can ever receive. Just like your children are everything to you. And it took us so long to get pregnant with him. It took us 5 years. And I remember when I got pregnant, finally, I was in shock. I was like, this is a miracle. How can this happen? I honestly never thought I'd be able to have my child. And every morning he made me smile. I know that sounds kind of weird, but every morning after we had him, I was smiling. I felt uplifted and happy and positive, and I think that really structured my life and brought me down a entirely different path. So I have this gratitude. Every mother loves their child. It's a given. But when you try for so many years and you've suffered from miscarriages and you finally have that child, you're like, "Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like you're so grateful." So, yeah.
It is such a gift. I also had miscarriages, and it's like, but do you believe like that the miscarriages that we had were souls that came in and they weren't ready, or we weren't ready? Like, what is your whole take on miscarriages and those souls that come in?
That's an interesting question. A lot of people have their own perspective on why these children decide not to come to Earth. I feel a lot of the time there's a lesson learned. A lot of the time it's part of our journey. And I just had to kind of surrender to that. It was very
Mm.
traumatizing to lose a child when you've been trying for so long. And I got to the point where I just had to give up. I just had to say, you know what? I'm surrendering. I'm allowing the universe to kind of take over, and whatever happens, I'm going to trust that process. And that is exactly what happened. I was obsessed with trying to get pregnant. And finally, I said, I'm just going to let it go. And I feel like souls will sometimes come very briefly to kind of teach us and structure that lesson within our lives. And we can carry that on for the rest of our lives.
That's so true. I believe that too. So tell me a little bit about, and our viewers, our listeners, of what was your path of awakening. Like, what was your journey like as a child? Where did you grow up? How did you know that you had this gift of seeing beyond the veil?
Yeah, so this is interesting because I didn't just have one journey. I had different fragrance of, or however you say that, sparks of journeys. And so what
Mhm.
happened was it started off when I was probably around, I would say 5 years old, were my first memories of having out of body experiences. And I thought it was normal. I thought everyone experienced floating around their home in the middle of the night. It felt so peaceful. It felt
Mhm.
so blissful. It was the most magical feeling. And I would also see things that weren't there. And as I got older, it progressed into seeing spirit with my own eyes. I would see them as clear as I see you. And a lot of the time, I would have these vivid psychic dreams as well. And then it progressed to, I remember as a teenager, we lived in Canada in the middle of nowhere. And I felt the house was a little bit haunted, but it wasn't in a bad way. I feel, we were afraid of it. So therefore, it was a scary experience. And I remember so many different experiences. One in particular, I was falling asleep and there was this floating man. It was just the head portion. It was
Oh my
white.
God.
He had a bunch of wrinkles on his face, and I knew exactly who it was. It was my stepdad's father. He lived a really long life, and he just came to me. And I feel a lot of the time when we have gifts, we're going to have our spirit, our loved ones, our ancestors come and show themselves because they can, because we're aware of them. Now, I graduated in the year 2000, okay? And I remember after graduating, I moved to Illinois. Sorry, my life story is long. I'm cutting it tremendously
No,
short.
don't cut anything. I don't care
Okay,
if it's 8 hours. People,
okay, good.
whoever's blessed enough to listen for 8 hours, don't worry. Don't
Yes.
cut anything out.
So, as a child, as a teenager, I had a lot of anxiety. It was
Mm.
terrible. It would come and go. And I remember I was always a singer. My twin sister and I were singers, and I wanted to do something with my life. Music was inspiring. Music was a place where I can kind of let go and creatively get involved in a new headspace and a new mind frame where my anxiety would just kind of fade. And my uncle, he just happens to be in the music industry. So he was in the band Survivor. He co-wrote Eye of the Tiger from the Rocky movie. And
Mhm.
he wrote so many amazing songs. Quick story. My grandmother, okay, she's the reason why this gift came to light, okay? She passed away 10 years ago on Halloween, which was
Oh,
what, two
wow, it
days,
was 2 days ago.
days ago.
Yeah.
And after she passed away, this is when everything started shifting and I started becoming hyper aware of energy, spirits. I'm a hairstylist, okay? I know you're a makeup artist, and I love that. And my clients would sit in my chair. I would be curling their hair,
Right.
and I would be getting downloads of information that I should not know, not of this world. It started off with psychic feelings, and I
Right.
would say, here's an example. So I had a client sit in my chair and making conversation. I said, well, how was your camping trip this weekend? She's like, how did you know I went camping? And I said, well, you probably told me before the last time you came to get your hair done. She goes, Kelly, we just planned this trip spontaneously. And I said, social media? She goes, I don't have a social media. There's no way you should know about this. And I was like, that's odd. How did I know she just got back from camping? So it kind of progressed. And then I started seeing dead people around my clients. And I have this one, I just got the chills thinking about this. I
Me
have
too.
this,
I actually, yeah, me too.
I have
Yeah.
this one lady. She was my client for probably years. Okay. And she sat in my chair, but she's never talked about her family, never talked about her mom. It's just not something we really talked about. And I just said to her, I said, by the way, how's your mom?
Mm.
She goes, okay, this is weird because my mom just passed away a couple days ago. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And as we were talking about it, her mom was showing herself to me. Okay. At the time, I was thinking, is this my imagination or do I really see her mom? In
Mm.
spirit? I just saw spirit in your room just now, by the
I
way. Did you?
know.
Oh my gosh.
That's why I didn't put that background
Yeah.
because, yeah.
And so I had a very specific image of what her mom looked like. I saw blonde, wavy hair, mid length. I saw red lipstick that really stood out to me. And I said, oh, gosh, I'm so sorry to hear this. What did she look like? Trying to bring back the memories, but also validate what I was being shown in a way where she wasn't onto this. Because I didn't want to say, hey, I think I'm talking to your dead mom right now. I think
Right.
I'm
Right.
communicating with her. And so she goes, well, she had blonde, wavy hair. And I said, oh, wow, that's too much of a coincidence. And I said, did she wear makeup? And she goes, no, she didn't wear makeup. And then she goes, but she.
Mm.
So that to me was mind blowing.
Say that one more time because it cut out. She
That's okay.
wore, it was like I thought it's, you know, like the highlight of the story she wore, and then it went commercial.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
So when I asked if she wore makeup, she goes, no. And I was like, oh, okay. But then she goes, but she wore the same red shade of lipstick every day. That was too specific, right? And I knew something was different about what was happening. So I had to do research to figure out what was happening.
That is amazing. That's really amazing. Did you and it's interesting as a hairdresser, as a stylist, it's more than that. You're working with people's energies. You're working with their scalp, their seventh chakra, their pineal, the pituitary, their all of that, the vagus nerve that's back there. You're massaging their head, you're cutting the memories. Like, you know, the hair is so sacred. You're, I don't know, you froze again. 1 second. You're frozen. Wait, you're back. You were you were frozen for a moment. Can you hear me?
I can hear you the whole time.
Okay. So your, you know, hair holds memory. Like in indigenous and American Indian cultures, they really like their hair is holds the memory, right? So that's why, you know, they were so upset when their hair was cut off as well, because there's so much sacredness. And when you're working with someone and with the hair, I know that whenever I go to my stylist or my hairdresser, I'm so relaxed, but you end up like you can read their seventh and eighth chakra. It's very interesting. And but if you're open for it and you have such a beautiful heart, for you to have that courage to say certain things, you know, a little by a little by a little, it's that was I don't even think that that was something that was awakened. I think this was something that was awakened when you were a child, and here it just
Yeah.
elaborated, right? It just expanded.
My grandmother passing away really kind of reignited my abilities. And I
Mm,
that she has been a spirit guide for me. She's helped me um, open up my abilities and help me be that, you know, portal to the spirit world. So when people pass away that are really close to you, a lot of the time people go through a spiritual awakening because of a passing.
yes.
And that's
Yes.
what happened.
It's either they can get stuck in the density of the grief, right? Or after the grieving process, they go into the doors of enlightenment, right?
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people who
Mm,
are watching this right now will understand that they went through the same process of losing a loved one. And then they start having these profound synchronistic things happen. And they start seeing that their loved ones are connecting with them through butterflies and birds and
yes,
lights in their home and just all these unique ways.
that's so true. It's all those signs. You just gave me an aha moment. You know, as a child, up until maybe, seriously, until maybe I was in my early 20s, I was never at a wedding. And it wasn't that I wasn't invited. I went to more funerals than weddings of my relatives. Like I was 18 and a half months old when my grandmother passed, then my grandfather when who was my greatest guide, and um when I was 8, and then it was just funeral, then all these funerals. And after they would pass, or right before their passing, I would have a conversation with them telepathically when I was very young, or in by their hospital bed or bedside. Like this is, and all I ever knew was about the like funerals. So when it was time even for my own wedding, and I couldn't wait to be a mom and to get married and to have a family and to really enjoy that. But it's interesting that the grieving process, the grief, when my grandfather passed and I was 8, up until I was age 11, every time I would make a birthday wish, I would wish that I would be able to see him again. I'd be able to see him again in physical form. And when I was 11, I realized, wait, I could still be in contact with him. It's okay. It's, and that's when another enlightenment. So I love how you said that people have choices. And usually when it's that they have their awakening.
That's absolutely true. I had a similar experience with my grandfather when he was passing.
Really?
My grandfather came to me and I knew he passed away before I received the phone call because he came to me
Mm,
telepathically, shared that with me. So we had a very similar experience in that sense. So
that's beautiful. Even when my best friend who passed, and she was 39 at the time, before she was going, I said, how are you going to appear to me? I'm like, because at first I was trying to talk to her and I said, no, everything will be okay. And she goes, Janet, I just need you to tell me that it's okay for me to go. And that was so hard for me.
yeah,
And I said, Christine, all right, fine. If you do go, and when you do, not if,
yeah.
how are you going to appear? A butterfly, a bird, or this? And I'm like, just choose one. And she said, it was like a butterfly, and she passed away it was very cold. It was a cold day and here in New York. And all of a sudden I saw a butterfly. And then her husband called me at like 7 a.m. So this is it's very interesting how they send you signs and everything like that.
The
Growing what?
veil is very thin right now. Back when 10 years ago, when I started learning my abilities, not as many people had synchronistic things happen with them. Now it's almost a normalized thing where everyone is
Right.
having synchronicities, signs from heaven, and it's only going to get better from here. It's only going to get
Oh,
stronger.
Kelly, from your mouth to the universe's ears, like really,
Yeah.
because if they use it for the right purposes and really it's for light, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
So how did you end up in the United States as a Canadian girl?
So I was actually born in Illinois and
Okay.
a little bit of a rough childhood. My mom was always working, to survive because she was a single mom of 3 kids. I'm a twin, by the way. So she had 2 twin girls and a younger boy. And my dad, I believe he had mental illness and he got involved in drugs. And
Hmm.
so he would be selling the furniture. My mom would come home and money and furniture would be gone. And so she made the decision to walk away. Okay. Now we had amazing grandparents on both ends. And my mother was amazing. She did everything she could to help us, live the best normal childhood we could. And when my mom divorced my dad, she met a Canadian. Okay. So my stepdad lives in the middle of nowhere. He's a bush pilot. He flies,
How did she meet him? From where? Where did they meet?
my grandfather, her dad, took all the siblings, 5 siblings, on a trip. So he owns a business. You fly in a float plane, you go to your own cabin and you go fishing. Okay.
How
So
cool.
all of the kids, including my mom, on a fishing trip. And my stepdad, he's like, she is really attractive. I want to be the pilot. So he was the pilot for her and they hit it off. And so we moved to Canada because they made the decision to stay a couple. They've been married for many, many years. And so I grew up in the middle of nowhere, a town of 300 people.
Oh my God,
I
they're
nature. I had nature
wow.
as my best friends. So that is kind of how I lived. My closest neighbors, I mean, it was like a 5, 6 minute walk. My bus stop was about 10 minutes down a dark road because we had to get up at 5 in the morning and we get on the bus at 6. Sometimes very rarely, there'd be a bear in our walking path. So we had to go back home and my mom would have to drive us to the bus stop. So nature, I think, was my life. nature was my connection, opposed to the mall, opposed to going to the museums and the movie theaters, hanging out with your friends. I did hang out with my friends in high school. I would spend the night at my friend's house. My high school was 2 hours away.
2 hours. Wow.
Way, each way. And so I did have a somewhat of a normal, I would say youth, childhood, but it was also very unique at the same time because we would be having friends over helping us cut the firewood for the fires for the winter. We would have our friends come over, helping us rake our huge yard because of all the leaves and shovel the snow. And so I have a huge respect and connection to working hard and having
Yeah.
nature. So
No, I love that. I love that. But that's 4 hours of your day, but that's 4 hours pre iPad, iPhone, right?
absolutely. Yep. We would sleep, do our homework on the bus, and yeah.
I mean, that's really, and you learn how to really connect to nature, connect to, you know, and the imagination.
Absolutely. I think that helped structure not only my childhood, but my son, because since I grew up with a connection to nature and being active outside, every day, almost every day, I take Brey somewhere. It's got to be somewhere. We have an outside connection. We live in Florida now where we don't have the snow and the, 30 below weather. And so we're able to explore life. That is what we do every single day. And I think that's another reason, since we homeschool him and since we're able to basically go everywhere we want, including the ocean, to homeschool, it gives him that connection to the energy of nature. And it really helped develop his awareness to energy and not just being on your iPad all day long, and it's a good thing for him. It helped him. But
Absolutely.
he also has that social connection with his friends at the park, his friends around here. So he's very social. He's a very social child if you haven't met him yet.
Which I look forward to meeting him soon. Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's right
abs
behind us. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. But
Love.
but before we meet him, if he chooses to, of course, I do want to ask you a little bit about the mediumship because um I love I love how it's authentic, it's inborn, and I know that every person has a certain clair that they're born with, right?
Absolutely. I feel everyone has access to all of their clairs. It seems as though clairvoyance is the prominent clair that people connect with spirit, clairaudience, which means clear hearing, clear sentient, clear feeling. So I feel like those are the three primary clairs that people use. I feel as long as we are open and we just allow, we're in the state of allowing, we don't really know where it's coming from sometimes. It's just, we're an instrument.
Right.
We're an instrument. And so basically spirit will use us and bring out beautiful music and messages and evidence. And it's such a beautiful thing. So it's like when you learn to play the piano, right? In the beginning, you're like, this is this note and this is this note. But when you play the instrument of spirit, it just plays itself and you don't even know where the information is coming from.
Because
Yeah.
after this podcast, after we record, after we press stop, I am going to share something that I'm going to share with you first before the public will know. But you just hit it. Are you psychic?
Little.
So little. Are you psychic? You know, I had an experience years ago. My son is now 16. Jules is 19. I was about to say she's 19. Um, and I had an experience years ago when I used to do readings in my home. The kids were little. I was, balancing a stay-at-home mom, but at the same time, like aligning passion and purpose. And someone came in for a reading and suddenly the father came through. Now, I never desired to do mediumship work. Like I was like in the closet in a sense, like really didn't desire that, but it came through me, and it was very healing of the words and of the intonation, and you end up speaking the way that the person speaks. And but what happened, and this is what I wanted to ask, because of Brey's age also. Brey was around the same age. No, Mikey was younger than Brey. He was younger. He was about 7 or maybe even 6. After that, in the middle of the night, my son woke up. This was in our older house, and the reading was at night. And he came in and he described the man to me that I connected with. It was the girl's father. And he wanted to relay messages to my Mikey, to my son. And Mikey was so frightened that he ended up, and I hope he doesn't listen to this interview, but he probably doesn't. He's a teenager. Mom's like, why aren't you a normal mom? That's what I get now. Like, he ended up in my bed, like sleeping next to me for like the next year because of the veil, fearing that that man or the other spirits per se were going to, he's like, they won't stop talking to me. And then I said, and I made, and this is negotiating with spirit, I said, angels, guys, please, let's close down this mediumship for now, because it's too frightening for him at this moment. And that was it until he's mature enough. And I kind of made a pact that until he goes to college, I'm not going to open that up. And my question to you is, where do you conduct these readings? Do you do it out of the home, Zoom, at a place? Where do you conduct this reading? And Brey being so, I think he just like, he hops from dimension to dimension. He's like, I see even around him, he's just incredible, you and him. How do you handle or balance? How about that balance of the work that you do and protection of your son and his sensitivity for that they don't, like, because he's a channel.
Yeah. I do my readings over the phone. Zoom,
Okay.
as you see, sometimes gets a little patchy where I live. So I do phone calls, and I actually do the readings in my car currently. That's my office. I do them in person when I lived in Wisconsin because I had that built up local clientele, but we've only been here for a year. And so the energy of spirit will actually come to me before I do a reading sometimes. So I will see a loved one hanging out with me in the morning time as I'm drinking my coffee, and they will show me things. They will connect with me before I even sit down to do a reading with my client. And sometimes, very interesting you say that, because sometimes my son will feel and sense the spirit. And there's been times, here's a very particular experience of what happened. More recently, I was doing a reading for this woman, and we were connecting with a younger male, and I felt burning and fire. And it was so interesting because during the reading, my son, who usually goes on his iPad for an hour while I do my reading in the car, he calls me. And I said, I'm so sorry. My son is, I just have to see if everything's okay. And I run inside and he's in a panic. He
Oh
said,
no.
"Mom, I smell smoke. I smell smoke. Can you just make sure there's no fire, no electrical fire?" I said, "Brey," I said, "I'm connecting with a young male in spirit that was burned, and you sense the energy of the reading." So he picked up on that. And this has happened multiple times. And
Yes.
so protecting him is an intention that I set, just like you, many, many years ago, because I did not want him to be afraid of his gift. When we're afraid of our ability, it sometimes can create the negative energy, which sometimes will experience more of a negative twist to our ability. I set the intention that not only my son will experience positive, uplifting, light, peaceful energy, but also myself. So when I do a reading for someone, you're never going to see me warning someone or bringing up horrible, negative, fearful information. It's always going to be positive. So positivity is huge in our lives because we've I've been through so much in my lifetime, and I feel like positivity helps life have an easier flow. And we have to rewire the brain in order to get to that perspective, right? Rewiring the brain is where we're going to see the magic happen. When we continuously focus on positive thoughts, then that way it's going to kind of create your positive reality. That being said, are we allowed to have sad days and sad times? Absolutely. Are we going to have trauma in our life? Probably. But it's so important to keep the positive perspective because that's going to help the flow of the energy of whatever we're going through in life.
It's so true. It's teaching and speaking through love, not fear.
Exactly. And that's so important because love is the portal to the spirit world. And as long you are so heart-centered, by the way, Janet, like your heart is just so open and so beautiful. And that is the perfect energy to be in, especially when working with the spirit world, right? Sometimes I will listen to, music to get my heart going, or I'll think of memories, or I'll watch, certain mediums on TV like Tyler Henry to get my heart flowing.
He's so cute. I love
him. And when I get my heart flowing, that's when the messages will just flow.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's like how you were saying about the instrument. It's tuning yourself to the frequency of source when you're connecting with someone who is like source.
Yeah. So when I have a client who cries, I love that. Cry. Give me some emotion.
I'm crying too. I'm like, if you don't cry, you get your money back.
So Brey, do you want to come and say hi? Brey. Give me, that's a loud toy. Do you want to come say hi?
Hey, Brey. So nice to meet you.
Wants to show you something. Or sorry, he wants to show you something real quick.
Oh, please.
Yeah. He likes the show and tell. He likes to show toys and things that he has. So
that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, we saw our tree. We put our tree up and she loves it. Yeah, we have to get more Christmas decorations though. No, I don't, babe. Why don't you show her one of your cars?
Oh, the divine soul path. It's like this beautiful, energetic movie. And don't you feel that like when souls are meant to meet, they're going to meet?
Oh, for sure. Especially when you're in alignment with the energy. Yeah, here's his dream car.
It's not my dream car. The BMW i7 is.
Oh, got it.
Oh, wait, but what car is that? Wait. What car is that?
BMW i8.
Here, let's show it like this.
The i8, which segues to the time when the BMW is going to be a BMW plane, where we're going to have cars that fly.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's already one car in the world that flies right now.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that you're 100% correct. And I'm sure there's a lot of cars that fly that they're not telling us.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
I'm sure.
true.
Like, I'm pretty sure too that's out to the public that people know about.
No, that's so true. Bree, what is like your favorite food that you like to eat?
Probably like watermelon or pizza. Or chicken, or fried chicken.
Do you like when mom cooks?
Yeah, I like crab and lobster too.
Me too. Me too.
Palate. He likes things that typical kids. Brey, tell her that the foods that you like that are very interesting. Seaweed too.
Seaweed, I like seaweed too.
My favorite is seaweed. We have so much seaweed in this house. Seaweed is great. I don't like seaweed when I'm going into the ocean and there's tons of seaweed there and it gets all over you. That's a So Bree, tell me a little bit something about how you knew when you were very, very young, like of when you were able to tell mom about all these different like experiences and how you knew about aliens and about all different intergalactic things? Like, was it just something that you would dream about, or it was something that you just, it was a knowing?
It's annoying.
Yeah, it's a knowing. Now, let me ask you questions, because years ago, many years ago, my teacher, his name like Lee Carroll, like it was probably like 20 something years ago. He wrote this book, Indigo Children. Okay. And he was the first with this woman, Jan Tober, and they wrote this book, Indigo Children. And it was based upon of what I feel that you are more than an indigo child, I believe. um, I didn't hear, there's a lag. What
Said absolutely he is. Absolutely.
yeah. And so the basis about the book, do you know like how like they got the name Indigo Children from? Okay. So check out Cryon, Kryon. It's with my teacher, his name is Lee Carroll. He was an engineer, and suddenly he started channeling. And he was more of like a hermit kind of guy. He was very quiet. He didn't want that gift. So when that happened, once you see, you can't unsee. Once the channel opens, it opens, right? Like it's there. So Jan Tober, he partnered up with her. She was more the researcher. He was the channel. And they met this woman who had a rare disease that it was something that was in the mind where she would be eating, let's say, seaweed. She'd be eating seaweed, but it was about perception. She would think she didn't understand it was seaweed. She would think it was triangles. It's I don't know the name of the disease, okay? Or the diagnosis, if that, and she was the one that started to see colors around people. And this is what I saw when I was a young kid also, of depending on their color, not just their aura, it's their personality. And all of a sudden she started seeing, and she knew how to respond depending on their color.
Wow. That's
Now,
fascinating.
Yours is purple right now.
mine is purple right now. Am I an indigo?
Probably. Yes.
Yeah, so she started seeing all these kids being born with that color purple. And these are like, you have to read that book or I'll send you an interview just for you to watch, because it's all about love consciousness. And that's how Indigo Children was born.
He says who made that book? Who was the one?
Lee Carroll is his name. He's the and he partnered up with this woman, Jan Tober, Tober, and he channels a loving force called Cryon, Kryon. And no, that's pretty amazing. What's your definition of like indigo?
Kind of what I do, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you do? I mean, I feel what you do. I feel what you do with my heart. But for those that aren't the feelies, like, and they could, they're
Like channel stuff.
yeah.
Oh, now you know.
And that's what he said. Now you know.
Now that you know, you cannot know. But can you explain to me how like channeling is, and how what are portals? Like, where does the information come from?
Well, probably around like, I don't know.
When
I
you
really don't know who it's coming from, but I know it's valid.
Yeah. What do you feel or see things when you channel?
I kind of see things rarely, but I'm more of like, yeah.
You feel?
Yeah.
He feels things, he says. I don't know if you can hear us, the speaker.
I could hear you. Yeah, I could totally. Do you feel things, and then can you decipher, can you sense of whether it's of an angel or whether it was like a spirit, someone that was already on earth before. Can you tell the difference?
What can you tell the difference if it's an angel or a certain spirit, or does it all feel the same to you?
It just kind of all feels the same.
It all feels the same, he said.
Nope,
It all-
saying it again.
What?
Just being goofy right now.
That's all good. I'm a goofy girl. I'm a goofy girl. That's like, how would you explain, like, or what your perception is of when, especially like what goes on in the world? I love that like mom is like homeschooling you, but what's going on in the world right now, where there's this balance of darkness and light, what do you think is happening at this moment in time?
I don't know. It's just all different from different planets and stuff and other alien species because humans aren't really the main species.
No, who are the main species, you think?
There is none. Because, what?
I
There
didn't.
is, there
Oh,
isn't none. There's none. There's none. No main species at all. They're
no.
all the same ranking, but angels aren't really a species. I'd say they're more of like a type of energy level. It's a type of energy level.
You know, when I was little and I used to walk around and there was trees and things like that, or I would go upstate a lot. I live in New York, and when we would go up to the Catskills and or in a park, I used to, and this is, I never said this to anyone either. Are there such things as fairies? Because I used to hear around the trees little whispers.
That's trees herself. That's trees talking to you.
The trees are talking to me.
Yes, because trees are alive. Trees just because they're not like human doesn't mean they're not alive. They still have a soul. They're still living. They're still living things.
Do fairies exist?
Maybe on other planets, not really on
Other
Earth. Because
dimensions?
if it did exist, we'd probably already be finding them, and they'd probably already be like everywhere.
So
The
they're
tooth
in
fairy is
different.
probably like some sort of type of energy, because I know that's been true. Because I've heard like things. But if it was real, where would you be getting that money from? Because I would wake up, I would easily
Oh, like
wake up.
the tooth fairy.
If someone were to take my
Oh
tooth,
my god.
take it, and then put money right there, they
Yes.
would have to wake me up in order to do that.
So
but
it's the energy.
yes, it's an
The energy.
places it right there.
I love
It's the energy. I used to write a letter to the tooth fairy, or even like before I used to take a test or something, and I would put it under my pillow at night.
So cute.
Yeah, I used to, but I didn't want the tooth fairy to come because I was so fearful at times with spirit when I was younger. I didn't want them to come into my room. So I would write on the note, please just leave the money in my mom's bedroom.
I love that.
Oh goodness. So what is if you had to explain, or what they've seen, what they've shown you, do souls, like do people incarnate together like as like clusters? Like do I like, because I know I'm here and I'm also somewhere else.
Because you can make friends with people in heaven that you can have another life with, and then you can just keep doing that.
And is there like, usually I love that. Is there like a soul contract? Like, did every single person come here with a certain lesson that they have to complete?
That they're all going Earth that they're all going to. The only one I think is just kind of populating. It's just populating and having like a certain type of energy balance.
That makes sense.
So then they don't get unbalanced and then accidentally create gray space, which there would kind of just like humans would just kind of stay in gray space because there would be no white space or dark space, so it would just be gray space, and then that really wouldn't work out that much.
No. And the gray space, like, are there some humans that may get stuck in the gray space?
The gray space doesn't exist right now,
No. Oh,
it wouldn't be that good for planets or stars or anything because it would just kind of like deform them.
Oh, it would deform them.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, that's pretty amazing. What about like for I don't know if it's speaking, there's a lag. I'm so sorry.
Would just kind of be floating in space, flying, and then they just kind of be floating on, like they just really wouldn't have anywhere to go.
He said the souls would be flying in space if there was gray space and have nowhere to go. So Earth,
Which is kind of sad. But it can't happen since there's a balance. It cannot happen. It's literally impossible. It's too late because there's already been a balance and there always has. If there wasn't a balance, gray space would immediately happen. But fortunately, gray space can't happen.
So what are we living in right now?
Dark space.
Dark space. So there's
Which
dark.
normal. It's kind of normal. It's just like, so imagine white space, right? White space is heaven. There is planets, stars, and everything. But yeah. And they can't collide. If they collide, that would create gray space, but that can't happen since there's already a line between them, so they can't get in.
It's a different dimension altogether, right?
Well, dimension is still in space. Like it's not a completely different type of area. Like it's still in space.
So what are dimensions exactly?
Dimensions are just kind of like different layers of space. Different layers. Like they're still in space. You can still travel to them with the, like if you had, or like if there's a portal to one of them nearby, which would just lead to leave you to a completely different area, or you lived right by like a planet was right by one, but sadly Earth isn't around any of them, any portals. It would take like around like 20,000 light years in order to get to like the nearest one. But if you're lucky enough and it's just like right there, you could probably try like wormholes. Like if a wormhole is close to a planet or something, then that would probably be good because then you can just kind of have a spaceship and you go over there and then yeah. And if you're lucky enough that wormhole actually leads to a different dimension, that's good. That's just kind of how you do it. So the
Is
first thing you have to do is find a wormhole that actually allows like it literally it leads to the other dimension.
How do you find them?
Well,
Is
they're
there like a machine? Boop, 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 boop. You know, like the guy on the beach that's looking for some gold.
kind of like randomized areas. Like there isn't one near Earth, but there's probably one near another planet. It'd probably take at least like 60 years to get there. At least it's not 1,000 light years. It's 60 years.
Do you understand or the law of one? Do you know what that means? Like, do you like there's okay. It's like a universal law that all the souls when they were first created, this is just, I'm just asking you this. I'm not saying it's a fact that all the souls were one. And then when we have the God spark inside of us, and then something like for us to have our individual experiences, it kind of sparked out, but yet we are all one. What is your interpretation of that? Does that make sense to you?
yeah. So he's talked about this before, in his video. Sorry, he just told me he has to go to the bathroom.
Go, Brey.
He's talked about this before in his videos where he spoke about this main energy source. And
Yeah.
so this is the main energy source probably of what you're talking about as the law of one. And then there's different what do you call it? Different fragments
Yes.
that
Yes.
from this one energy source that creates life. So he actually, yeah, so in our videos, you'll have to search for it, but he's talked about this before. So
Send
I
it to
think
me because I'm so interested.
that's his interpretation of what the law of one is, because he hasn't heard of that term before. He doesn't study spirituality. Surprisingly enough, I don't teach him this stuff. I mean, I teach him manifesting, I teach him subtle things, but
Yeah.
what he channels, like today, he spoke about things I didn't even hear about, you know, that I've never asked him. So he speaks upon things that I've never heard of yet. So every day is different and unique.
It's pretty amazing. It's pretty
Yeah.
amazing. And I love that you are recording these like beautiful moments. You know, it's savoring and being in the here and now, but watching him grow and evolve, you know, it's pretty exceptional. It's pretty exceptional. I think Brey needs to start his own school personally, but a school
Before in the past, he said,
really.
start my own school. I want to have, he wants to have multiple businesses as well. He is very entrepreneur, very creative. And he talks about all these ideas that he has. And school is one of them because he didn't love the school system, even as a young child. And I think with you in school, do you want to tell her or you want me to tell her? Okay, sorry. So basically, when he went into a regular school for preschool, first and second grade, okay?
Mhm.
And so the first school that he went to, it was not easy for him. It wasn't easy for a lot of the children because of the structure and how they
Yeah.
ran the school system. And he's just saying there's a lot of kids crying there. They were not gentle with the children. They were very strict. And
Yes.
it was traumatizing for him. He says that they were kind of like, they were rough, really, really rough on the children.
Mhm.
And once, you know, I kind of knew because I would bring him to school and he would be crying, didn't want to go to school. And so first grade was better for him because we chose to do a Montessori school instead of the public.
Oh, that's good.
So first and second grade were Montessori style, but still they had to sit down at a desk for, you know, for a lot of the day. And he's a very active child.
Mhm.
He's wired, right? He needs to run around. He learns from experiences, and he just said because he has ADHD. So
Me too.
me too. Welcome to the club. High five, Brey.
Yeah, so does my son. We're good.
It's
But
a
that's-
celebration. Brey, don't scream like that. Sorry.
And that's part of the book with the Indigo Children, by the way. They
Yeah.
all have ADD and
Yeah.
ADHD. They all do. All of
That's-
them.
Yeah. So that's how and then also, you know, COVID happened. And so that's
Yes.
how we kind of came to terms of homeschooling, making that decision. And it worked out perfectly. So
And he's 100% right, because going to school and you're entrapped in this institution in a sense, and they have the same textbooks that they probably had 100 years ago, but they put a different cover on, and they're teaching us theory, which isn't actually the truth.
absolutely agree.
Well, as an intuitive, from my point of, because I see Brey in the future really having his own organization of educating and I want to say it's not the new child, it's the unique child. I see him running schools.
Oh, that's awesome.
I
That
see
is
him
very-
yeah, absolutely, and cultivating their own creative path.
Yeah.
You know,
Awesome.
that's Brey, do you have any questions for me?
Not really.
That's okay. It's
He says you want to know something though?
I own a YouTube channel right now with 3,000 subscribers, and I post like Roblox videos.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty good editor.
Yeah, he's happy about that.
that's awesome. That's incredible. That's incredible. So before we go, how can our viewers, because first of all, I want to say a special thank you to you, Brey. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing us your beautiful and handsome face, and for sharing all your knowledge. You're an incredible, not just special, but a gift. You're a gift. So, and I appreciate you. I really do. I really do. And you always continue sharing your light, making it as bright as possible, because your smile, your light makes this world a better place, Bree. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here, really.
What do you say?
Thanks.
You're welcome. And I thank your mama too. Your beautiful mama who has so many talents, who is an incredible medium that I would love for you to do a reading for me as well. Maybe we should do one on on Instagram or something for our viewers to see.
Yeah, so it's really wild because since our social media took off, I have thousands and thousands of messages. And so
Oh,
I've been working so hard trying to do as many readings as I could without getting depleted, because as
yes.
you know, as a light worker, you have to conserve your energy in order to connect with spirit, because we
Right.
use our energy and they lower their vibrational frequency. And so that's been a little bit tough trying to kind of maneuver all the
Yeah.
energy and the busy life. And but I love it. It is so much fun. And so to reach us on Instagram, it is Kelly the Magical Medium, Kelly the Magical Medium. On TikTok, it is Kelly the Magical Medium, N, the letter N, and then Brey, Brey. And we have a YouTube channel as well. My website is kellyferro.com, KELLYFERRO.com. It's been a whirlwind, so I probably won't get back to if you email me for a really, really long time, because there's only one me unless I hire someone. And
I'll
so
think about that. Yeah.
I will work my way down the list, so just be patient.
Absolutely. Be patient, and good things come to those who are patient, who are open, because yeah, to be in your presence is a gift, Kelly. Thank you so much for your open heart, for your beautiful essence, for everything that you do, and for being the light in this world also. Thank you.
You so much. I really appreciate it. And I just want to say your heart again is so kind and so beautiful. And I feel like I'm we don't do every podcast because it's just impossible. So we intuitively we feel connected, and we feel connected to you. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity of being on here. So thank you.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you so much. Thank you. And until next time, I will see you soon. Namaste, my angel.